Welcome to Chronicles with Kat. I am your host, Kat. So today's episode is going to be a little bit different. I am actually going to be in the hot seat, and I'm the one getting interviewed today by Connie Leon, one of my dear friends, who's been on the podcast before. But I had talked to Connie about this. I wanted the audience that's new, that doesn't know who I am, to kind of get a glimpse of who I am as a person, as a friend, to kind of understand more the reasoning behind my podcast. So I have no idea, but I think I'm going to cry is what Connie said. So I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, no, I've been boohooing since yesterday. But, and I think initially when we talked about this, we wanted it to be like people to know the fun side of you.
Yes.
But I think that in reading all the stories and in knowing you, that is like an automatic knowledge. Like people will automatically know that, yes, you are fun. Like you're not always super serious. And I know that your podcast like touches on a lot of very deep and like just very serious topics and subjects. And you wanted this to be fun, but I told you like, it is going to be fun. We're going to try to make it fun, but it was very, for me, very touching. And like I said, like I already cried. So I think I'm going to be able to make it through this without crying. So the way I want to start is by just giving you some of the words that came to mind when I read some of the stories. And then we'll kind of get into some of the topics based on those stories, right? Okay. And I don't remember everybody's names like for all the stories, but maybe if I start talking about things, you'll kind of know who.
Okay.
So when I think about Kathy and the stories that I read from her friends and family that sent in stories to me this week, these are the words that came to mind. So very outgoing. We know that. Very outgoing. You take no bullshit from no one. Very bubbly, which we know every day, all the time. Very resilient. Very loyal. You have a strong personality. I do. And I know you. And yes. I do. You're very straightforward and to the point, which I love that about you.
Yeah, I don't really sugarcoat.
You have no judgment over people and like their lives and what they've been through. Accepting of others and their differences, especially when you don't really believe in certain things that they believe in. Trusting God no matter what. Never giving up. You're a go-getter. Someone said when she wants something, she does it. Like you're a doer. And I know that about you. Just in the stories that you share from work and like all the stuff that you just go into, I know that. And then another one, which I know is also somebody said you have the gift of the gab. Like you've never met a stranger. You're like, to me, that one kind of came or made sense. Remember, I nominated you or asked you to be an MC for an event because we were somewhere. You're doing social media. You were doing stuff for our friend Desiree. You're doing social media. And one of the ladies was like, are you MCing the event?
Oh, yeah, that's
because
true.
of your personality. And so that stuck to me. And I was like, yeah, she could be an MC, right? And so then when the opportunity came, I told you about it and you did it. And you did really good.
Guys, I was so nervous, though. I was sweating.
But that's the thing, right? Is like the gift of the gab is that like you, first of all, you've never met a stranger. Like everywhere we go, you talk to someone, no matter what, right? And you try to just make people feel included and comfortable. And the other thing is like you just do, like you can speak and you can, you're not shy about it. You just kind of take. You don't think so?
I'm hearing all this. I have a really hard time talking about myself always, but I'm hearing all this, right? Like I hear it, but I think there's times that I'm just like, Connie, when are you getting here? Because I'm the first one here.
No, and I get it. I get that, right? Sometimes, because I go through that too. Even though I love to meet people and talk to people, there's certain events when I go and I'm like, oh, like I don't know if I can do this today, But I think for the most part, especially when we go out, like when we go out and we're like drinking, you're comfortable, you're really okay with talking to anybody. Yeah. You're very friendly. And whether people
drinking or not drinking,
and whether people reciprocate it or not, you're just gonna be you. Right. So, okay. So with all of that, the one story that like has stuck with me right now, because I just read it this morning, was Rocio's. And she talks about how like you have brought out like a lot of her personality, because we know Rocio, and you know, she's been on the podcast and we've talked about her experience in life and how hard that's been for her. And so she talks about in her story about you, about how she's a very guarded person.
Very.
And she's very like an outsider, right? Like she's always trying to just like very not judging, but she'll try to just examine and view everything first before.
You fought me to be friends.
Yeah.
Friend.
And she talks about that, right? Like that you called her her friend and she was like, wait a minute, like I don't have friends like that. Especially women, because of her situation, right? Because of everything she's been through. And so I think for me, that story is very true about you, right? Because not that you're forcing it, but you just want to make sure that people are themselves and that they're comfortable, and that you want to be friends because some people, like, you genuinely connect with them like that. So I cried with her story a lot this morning because I was like, because I know Rocio too, right? That she's very guarded, and I can see that from her of like, no ma'am, she's gonna build that wall until she's ready. But she says that with you it was kind of effortless and easy for her to just become your friend. And that you've been there for her through so many things. And so, and a lot of the stories said that about you. That you have just been there for people, regardless of your own situation or what you're going through, that you just always show up for them. So yeah, now you can cry.
You can see my eyes getting teary.
So yeah. Well, I'm like, what do you think about that? I know it's really hard because I'm telling you, a lot of the stories were so sweet and they just really talked about you in that way. Especially with Rocio, you know, your cousin, one of your cousins, Stephanie, she did say that you were like the oldest cousin and that you would come and like teach them how to break dance. That was one of the funny stories. She says that because you were the older cousin that you would come in and teach the younger cousins how to break dance.
Because I swore I was going to be a B-girl. I swore that I was going to be a B-girl. And I had this two moves that I had. And I just thought I was a little baddie. No, I did not know what I was doing. But yeah, I swore I was going to be a B-girl. Because I was, at the time, I was dating this guy. And he had a bunch of friends that were B-boys. And so...
And that just goes back to
But you know what? I don't remember that.
But
you said it, and I'm like, I did go through my B-girl stage. I do know what she's referring to.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so that just kind of proves on, like, over and over that you're just there for people, right? And no matter what the situation is. To make it fun, to make it interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah. Are you surprised by all this?
I don't know if I'm surprised. I think I just have a hard time hearing about myself in a sense.
Yeah.
I love words of affirmation, but I get real tonta. Like, I just want to be like, it's nice to hear.
Yeah.
I just don't know how to receive. I don't know how to receive it.
And that's probably a big thing for us, right? As Latinas, like, we're not used to it, to where you do, like, I was on a call a while back and there's two people on the call and they were trying to tell me all the good things. And I'm just like, let's move on to the next thing. You know, like, it's hard. It's hard for me. But you do have to accept it and receive it in a way that, like, people are, like, thinking this way about you.
Yeah.
It was so fun. The other thing that is on here is that, which I love because I feel we're the same way, is, like, being very straightforward and just not taking any shit from anyone, right? I'm like... Because because it's really important, right? Like, it's just you setting those boundaries and establishing that. What do you think, like, in your life has gotten you to that point? Because I'm very much like that too. And it's taken a long time for me now in my 40s, like, to actually stand up for that, right? And just be like, nope, I'm just gonna not take anything from anyone.
I don't think I ever, like, put two and two together, or, like, why I am the way I am or whatever. I think now with the stories that we've shared, with the things that I've shared, you know, with talking with my therapist too, right? Like, about what I went through with the abuse. It was a pivotal moment that changed me at age 9, 10, whatever that age was. And so a lot of it makes sense now. Like, a lot of it makes sense of why I was considered the black sheep, right? Why... Again, I just do what I want. And I think it's because of the fact that it was it was hard to not have the full support, I guess is what I'm going to say, that I was looking for.
Yeah.
That I'm going to have to do me and protect me and do, like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Not that I don't care, but at that point I'm like, if it's going to hurt you, but it's not going to hurt me, I'm going to do what I need to do. And I think, you know, seeing the resilience of like my mom too, right? Like my mom's gone through stuff and she was just a hardworking woman. You know, both my sister and I are very hardworking. I just feel like I have to do what I have to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But when I heard the one where it's like, you know, she puts her mind to it, and I'm like, listen, y'all want to know when this podcast was really talked about? And
but you're doing it.
Finally, like.
No, but you're doing it. And it's true. Like some people will talk about it and it'll never get done.
Yeah. And so that one was a little like, because I feel like when it's like, oh, she puts her mind to it, that it's going to be like one of those that I'll do right then and there. So that one was kind of like, oh, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Again, because in my mind, I'm like, oh, she sticks her mind to it, she's going to do it. It's like va a pasar right away.
Yeah. But sometimes it doesn't happen that way, right? Like you think about things and you want them to happen. And like I said, people will talk about certain things and they will never happen.
Yeah.
Versus like you actually did it. You talked about a project at work the other day. You fixed a closet or something, your like supply closet. And you were like, I'm done. I'm just going to do this. And you did it. Remember?
Yes, I get over it. And I even at one point in a meeting was just like, can you tell? If my CEO ever watches this, I'm so sorry. I was so But I fixed this. I was very proud of my work.
Yeah.
And I always say at work, like, if I can be this organized at my house, oh my God. Anyways, I organized this whole closet. It was great. It looked lovely. I took pictures. And then in a meeting,
you did a video. You did a time lapse, didn't you?
I did do a time lapse, but I did this. But we were talking about. Does anybody need to say anything? This is like with leadership, right? Like with the executives. And
you're like, I organized the closet.
I was like, I organized the closet. Hold on. It gets better. Again, I'm sorry, Ken. And all the leadership. And I was like, can y'all please tell your teams if they're gonna put something in that closet, not to throw their shit everywhere. To our CEO and all, like the CEO, like I didn't care. And it just came out.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, thanks. And then like after the meeting, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get fired.
But that goes back to like, you're a very straightforward person, right? And sometimes you just have to say things the way you have to say them because.
When the controller was like, yeah, so.
That is so funny. That's good.
You don't want anyone put their shit, and I was like, yeah.
But I've seen you in so many other instances, like be that way, right? With your daughter, or I've hung out with you a lot at home, just regular days, and like, oh, I'm gonna make dinner, and then like 10 minutes later, you're like, come over, the food's ready. Like,
I wish it was 10 minutes, but
yeah, about that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like I've seen you do it even in your personal life, like where you're just like, nope, I'm done with this. I'm gonna like rearrange all the furniture in my bedroom right now. I've seen you do all this, right? So I know that is you. It doesn't even matter like if it's a big thing, a big project, or a small project.
Yeah.
I do feel like that is you.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Even if you don't think it about yourself. The other one, the no judgment. So one of the stories, I can't remember her name. I think the girls were in volleyball together and she said she has 2 daughters. I'd have to go back and look.
Oh, okay, yes.
And so she said that one of the biggest things about her that she loves about you is that she's always able to come to you with like anything that's going on with her kids and her husband. And I feel like her story was saying like, I never felt any judgment from her. Like I know that I can open up to her without feeling that judgment. And I'm very like that too, because I'm nobody to judge anyone. Yeah. We've been through a lot and you and I talk about it all the time. Like I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. And so I've never really understood like why you would come to people with like things and that they would judge you about what you're doing. Like, so I know that about you because we're the same way.
Yeah. But I also think I'm like that because like you said, right, who am I to say something? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, because I've gotten I've gotten crap sometimes. And I'm like, sometimes I just need a vent,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and like, let me process this. And then let's talk about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm in a better state. But who am I to judge what you're going through, what your kids are going through, right? Maybe I've gone through the same, you know, situation, and I could give you the advice that I've gone through. But what's the point of passing judgment?
And that's what she said, is that you always give her like the best advice.
Really?
Yeah. I have to go back to that story and read it exactly to you. But that same story said exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I give what I would want to receive, and what I've received in the past that I don't like. So I'm like,
Yeah.
And I'll even say, like, I think now my biggest thing is I've learned that I ask the hard questions. I don't like being asked the hard questions, but I'm totally okay with asking the hard questions. And they're talking to me, you know, about whatever, and I'll say, all right, are you ready for it? Are you ready for the hard question? Because I will literally I'll be Switzerland, and I'll look at both sides. I can be that friend that, okay, you want me to side with you? I'll side with you. But even with my daughter, and I'm like, she'll tell me whatever. And I'm like, all right, are you ready for it?
Right.
I'm going to give you both sides of the story. Like, this is the perspective, and this could also be the perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just me, an outsider, looking in.
But I think that's what makes a good friendship, right? Is like the fact that you are asking the hard questions, and that you are not just going along with everything that someone is saying, because that's not, like, to me, that wouldn't be a good friend. Like, you can, oh yeah, Connie, you're always right. No, like, that's, you know, I'm not always right. And so, yeah, for you to be that person, like, I appreciate that, right? And I feel like I'm the same way with you about things like, let's think about this. Like, you know. She
does. I hate it when she does that. Well, all right, but let's think about this. And I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah, but you're that way with, like, me too, where I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like,
this is true, because we do, I think you and I are similar in the fact like we'll spiral, like we will literally spiral and be like, okay, so let's take a few steps back. And it's crazy that now that we're talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. I guess these people, I guess I am that way.
Yeah. No, like a lot of everybody who wrote in, like, I definitely agreed with everything. The other one was the accepting others and their differences. The story was something, and I can't remember her name. She talks about how, like, you guys maybe you don't see eye to eye on everything, that you disagree, and that even though you guys don't agree on things and you end up like fighting about something, that you'll stop talking for like a week, and then like a week later you're like, hey, what's up? How are you? You know, because you end up like, oh, okay, like it's not a big deal for your friendship.
Was that Mickey?
No, it wasn't. I don't know. I can't remember her name. I'll have to go back and look. But she said that you'll end up like maybe not talking for a little bit, but then you can come back together.
TC.
Yes, that was her, TC. And talk about things just normal again, right? That you, and I agree with her, because you and I don't always agree on things.
Girl,
and,
no.
You take that little distance and break. And she did say, I think her story mentioned about like the communication, maybe also because of, you know, you're just very forward.
Well, this was back when we were at either 429. We were at 429, and she's always the, I always said, I'm always the, no, baby, I see through your crap. And she's always like, you know, trying to see the better in people. And I'm like, baby, there are no better there, right? Yeah. So that's like the difference between her and I. I always say, you always try to see the good in people. You know, I love that about you. Some people you don't need to see the good in. And there was a time where, I don't know what we were going through. And I'm working through this through therapy, but it was a very, very rageful, angry stage. And she said something that was like not the usual TC sweet, you know, lovable TC. And I was like, who does she think she is talking to me like that? And we got into it, and I stopped talking to her, and it wasn't weeks. I think it was months.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. I was pissed. I don't know how we rekindled or whatever, but yeah, like the true friendship that have stayed, even if we've like disconnected for whatever reason, the true friendships that are meant to stay in my life, they have come back.
And again, that's the same kind of thing. To me, those are the good friendships, right? Yeah. That you can see yourself through those like disagreements, no matter what they are, and kind of come back to each other like, oh, like we're friends again, no matter what. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, there was a lot of good ones. The other part that really stood out is like you obviously met a lot of people like when you were going to church, and like, you know, very like where religion kind of stands in your life. And a lot of people did mention like just you're always like very trusting of God and And so that side of you is something that I feel maybe people don't get from you sometimes, right? Because you're always silly and funny and like you do share some stuff, but not all the time. But I don't feel like you're always trying to be super preachy about it, you know?
Well, I think right now I'm just going through my own thoughts and walk with God. Or I shouldn't say God. I should say the church.
Right.
I'll correct myself. The church. And so you probably don't hear as much as I used to. I used to like post motivational stuff about, you know, God and all this and all that. And I know what he's done for me. But yeah, you won't hear that much right now. Yeah. But there was a time where, yeah, like I was all in. I was volunteering. I was with their social media. I was doing this and doing that. And I'm at the point right now where I just want to be a fly at the wall. If I find a church, I just want to be a fly at the wall where no one knows me.
Yeah.
That's just my own stuff, my own journey that I'm going through. But yeah, I think my faith, I'll say my faith isn't easily like wavered in a sense. I just don't really talk about it much these days. I wouldn't be where I'm at now if it wasn't, you know, whether you believe in God or a higher being, without him in my life. Because I've gone through some stuff. But yeah, I think knowing that at the end of the day, whatever is going to happen, whether it's good or bad, there's always something that's bad can be turned into something good. Yeah. You know what I mean? So yeah, you're right. I really don't talk about that much, or you'll see a thing here and there. But yeah, I mean,
again, because I know you and we hang out so much, I know you do talk about it. You know, we do talk about it a lot, but like, again, you're not like really preachy about it. It's not like, oh, Connie, you have to believe in this, and Connie, you have to do this. Like, you're never like that.
And I think a lot of that stems from, you know, and doing an interview here recently with a friend. Like, I think there's so many churches, you know, the Catholic Church is very ritual, very this, like this, and this. Where a non-denominational church, it's more charismatic, it's more spiritual. I think every religion has something. I am not the type that I want you to shove something down my throat and have this constant guilt or feel like I'm gonna go to hell or whatever. Right? Like, I just don't want that, and I don't want to give someone that myself. Right? Like, can you imagine? Imagine as a parent, right? Like, if your mom's always making you feel like, oh, I'm worthless. I'm not, you know, whatever. I'm not a good kid. Like, I feel the same way about a church. Like, I don't want to feel that. I get what's in the Bible. Like, I get it, but I just don't want something shoved down my throat. Yeah. I'm more open-minded, I guess is how I'll say it. Right. I'll probably get slack for that, but I don't care. I am who I am.
No, but I don't think so. I think that, like, again, through all these stories, I think people are very appreciative of that open-mindedness. I know I am, because you know me, I'm very woo-woo. And all my stuff isn't always, you know, church related. I'm very woo-woo. I like have crystals in my pocket. So, you know, it's that kind of thing. And Kathy's like, okay, let's just go with it today.
So yeah. Sometimes we'll make a joke and I'm like, oh, such and such is asking if you carry crystals. And she's like, I do. And she'll
actually,
like,
in my purse.
And I'm like, got it. Okay. Anyways.
A couple stories mentioned, one of them that you and somebody else had surgery around the same time, and that y'all ended up spending a lot of time.
My cousin.
But then also somebody else that she also had surgery, and that you were through work, I think, and that you were constantly checking on her and trying to like make sure she was okay. So like those stories of like you are going through something, but you're still there for somebody in a big way. Like how have you come to be that person?
I don't know.
Because that's big. Like, you had surgery and you're hanging out with somebody else who just had surgery. Yeah. And y'all were like keeping each other company.
Yeah. So my cousin had her surgery, and it was like almost like, well, hers was more invasive, but we had basically the same surgery. And I think we were a week or two apart.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 2 weeks apart, and she was able to come. Anyways, it was what I needed. Yeah. It was crazy because we couldn't laugh. But
that's what she said. Laughing. She said that you laughed and like laughed through the pain of everything.
Literally. I think because I feel a lot. I mean, I feel, because sometimes after I've hung out with someone or multiple friends are having something going on, like come Monday, I just want to cry.
Yeah.
I just want to cry. I can't figure it out. Even TC's like, do you think it's more spiritual? Like you're just, and I just feel. I hate to admit that I'm sensitive. I'm super freaking sensitive. I think, again, I show up for people that I want people to show up for me. And maybe people haven't shown up for me that way throughout the years until recently. So, so I think it's because I'm basically doing what I wish people would do for me. Yeah. And not saying that not everybody does that. Y'all show up for me. But I just think in some aspects, I've always felt like the black sheep. Yeah. Like, and I've said that a lot. Yeah. And that people just don't show up the way I guess I would like them to show up. And
it's hard because it's easy for you to give up on that, right? Like for you to say, well, they're not doing this for me. I'm just not going to do anything for anybody anymore. But these stories truly show that you're not that person. Like you will show up for people regardless of how they're showing up for you. But ultimately, these people are showing up for you because of the stories that they have about you and the memories that they have with you that are very long lasting, right? And so I think that's really, I'm telling you, I've been crying for 2 days, y'all. I like trying to go through all this. But yeah, I think we touched on everything. The bubbly part, like we know it. We know, like, Camila, my daughter, she was like, Mom, why do the smallest people have like the biggest personalities? Because she was talking about Kathy. And she's like, she's so little, but she's so big. I'm like, it's true.
Dynamite, baby.
It's true.
Dynamite.
You know, my daughter's like tall and lanky.
Totally.
And so she's like with Kathy, she's like, Mom, she's so little. I'm like, yeah, she is. She's like, but she has such a big personality and like so much comes out of her. She was watching videos of you on my phone, like when we first started going out again and you're like dancing and being silly. She's like, Mom, she's so tiny, but look at her. Yeah. I really do believe that about you. Like there's so many big aspects about you that like no matter how small you are very big and you show up very big and you have a big presence in a lot of rooms that you walk into.
Yeah. I've been told like you walk into a room and you can change whether it's good or bad, you can change how the atmosphere is.
Yeah.
I do want to ask, what is the most impactful story that you read?
I think definitely Rocio because I know her personally, hers, and then the person that shared about the surgeries, like as you said, it's your cousin. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. I didn't know that. I didn't know that about you or like knew that story because you just recently had your surgery.
Yeah, she had hers like beginning of December, January. Must have been, anyways, like it was that time frame, and then I had mine in January, and so it
impactful in the sense of like, oh yeah, that's something Kathy would do, you know, like because it is you, and I just think, like I said, all the stories were just very telling of like who you are. Rocio's again because I know her personally, like that story is like that makes so much sense, and like it means a lot to her. Like you know her, you know that it means a lot to her. And so that's the one I cried with this morning. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, I think all of them had like a little bit of who you are and like your personality. So they were all very good. Yeah. We're gonna have to go back and like make a little thank you list because I forgot everyone's name. I'm so sorry. You knew the stories. I was like, I know once I start talking about some of them, you'll know.
Because I was like, I had a couple of people.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to read the stories, guys.
I know.
Because I have not read them. No. Like, I don't know what y'all wrote.
Some of them are short, but some of them are really long. And so it's really hard for us to, like, read them all. But, yeah.
I'll be excited to read. Yeah. So, y'all have gotten a glimpse of who I am. You got a little teary-eyed cat. Like I said, I'm sensitive but don't like to show it.
I know. I'm glad I cried before this. I was like, I don't want to cry during this day. I started crying. I was like, can't. Yeah. I was like, and then talking to you, I'm like, I don't even want to cry when I'm sitting in the room with her. But yeah, that was fun. I liked it. You'll read I'll send.
I know. I'm more like okay. I'm curious to see what. Yeah. And I know I'm gonna cry. I'm a big old crybaby, guys.
You talked about being sensitive. You are super sensitive sometimes. We're always crying about something.
I don't know about you. You hardly cry. When Connie cries, I'm just like, what do you need, friend? Because you
no, don't. I really don't.
You really don't. Really don't. Me? I'm like, Connie. Connie's like, oh, okay.
I'll get a FaceTime call. I'm like, okay, let me be ready for this. She was like, are you at work? I need to FaceTime you. I'm like, I can't talk to you right now like that. Because I already know.
But sometimes it could just be me being a
Yeah.
a doofus.
I think you were trying to be silly. I can't remember.
It was yesterday.
Yesterday?
It was yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to know. Yeah, I do
Anyway.
want to know, but I'm not going to tell y'all.
I'm like, anyway, this was fun.
It was fun. Thank you.
We
Thank
need
you
to
for
do more story sharing like that.
Yeah.
Because that one was good. Yeah.
Maybe next time we'll do what's your funniest story with Kat?
Yeah.
And actually read those.
Yeah. Those will be, yeah. It'll have to be short. Because some of the ones that they sent in for this one, they were, I mean, it's long because it takes like time for you to tell that story of like how you guys met and like over the years because you've known some of these people for your whole life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, thank you to everybody that wrote in. And if you didn't, it's okay. But I can't wait to read all these stories.
Yeah.
And boohoo. Thank God for waterproof mascara.
Yeah.
Thank you for
thank you.
Yeah, for agreeing to do this and
Always.
always helping out and being my soundboard when I need it. Because y'all don't understand. I really get hella nervous before these interviews. Some more than others. And then she'll come in and like literally within 2 minutes, and I'm like, oh, okay, well that wasn't that. I made it harder than it needed to be. So thanks.
Yeah. You're doing good. So,
Thank you.
Yeah. Someone did say, I think it was TC. She just said that she was so proud of everything that you've done and how much you've grown. So,
and not by height, guys.
No, at all. Yeah.
Well, thanks for being
Thank
here
you.
and sharing and making me cry on my own podcast.
That'll be fun.
Stay tuned for more crazy things about Kat. This is going to be a fun little series that we'll do. But until next time, guys, bye.